Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so whenever you reward yourself, you also have to put your part of rewarding yourself is you sort of put yourself in that pressure situation, right?
Yeah.
It's important for me to reward myself
Mm-hmm.
because that's what gets me excited to go work my butt off,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's important for people to understand that doesn't mean you go spend all of your money,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've always loved material things. I've always bought nice cars
Mm-hmm.
and I've always bought nice houses. Now, one thing I've also done is I split my checks three ways. So
Okay.
33, 33, 33, right? 33% of my check is what I live on, and that's what I spend on.
Mm-hmm.
The other 33% is for my savings and IRS,
Mm-hmm.
and the other 33% is for a reserve account that I don't touch no matter what happens.
Okay.
And the idea of this reserve account is that I want to have a minimum of 2 years saved of all my bills in case shit were to hit the fan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's also used for investment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you never know when opportunities are going to come up, and you want to have the cash,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when you want to, you want to reward yourself off that first 33% that you're doing. So, at a very young age, if I wanted to live on $5 grand a week, then I
Mm-hmm.
better have made 15 grand that week,
Mm-hmm.
and it also kept me hungry,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And the other beauty of it is when you know, investment opportunities came up, like buying my beach home or buying my first home in Hollywood Hills back in the day. I literally walked into $1 million of equity, right? Luckily, I had the money there. And what was great about it is then once I used my money, it got me hungry again because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, wait a minute, I need to have this money in my reserve account. So I'm going to borrow it right now to
But you
get this investment.
got to pay back.
Now my urgency level freaking went through the roof because I'm like, shoot, man, I don't have my 2 years of savings in
Mm-hmm.
case something were to hit the fan, right?
Yeah.
So it gets my urgency going again. So it's always you want to invest at least 30% of your money.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just want to have your money sitting there.
Yeah.
Right? You want to invest it. Now I've always chose real estate. That's what I've invested in. And again, the beauty of it is it's twofold. You invest, but then you get hungry again because
Mm-hmm.
you realize that money's gone. But that's where the self-discipline comes in,
Yeah.
right? I remember back, you don't have to do this anymore, but back in the day, I found the farthest bank I could find for that reserve account so I wouldn't take the money out.
Oh, just to control that. Yeah, from
And
you
then I
taking it
hated
out.
paying that $3 fee to take the money from somewhere else. I would never withdraw from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also, no matter what came, who needed money, that if somebody needed money or a loan, it would come from my savings and IRS.
Mm-hmm.
The reserve money, I don't care what was happening, no one was touching that money,
Yeah.
and it's that self-discipline about it.
Mm-hmm. So there has to be self-discipline because you could save it, but then like you could maybe spend it on an opportunity,
Yeah.
investment, especially with this economy. But then you got to make sure you pay it back.
You pay it back.
Yeah.
Totally it, man. And but yeah. So again, cut the check three ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You cut the check three ways, and if you do that, then you can spend all you want.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't feel bad on spending 5,000 if you made 15,000. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But if the next week you only make, 6,000, then you can only live on
The 2,000.
right?
Yeah.
So
Gotcha. So definitely, celebrate, but don't freaking blow it like, I don't know, on a Europe trip or something.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
what I mean? Definitely, it has to be within the means
Yeah.
of that 33%. Right.
When I first bought my Lamborghini, I didn't want to pay 300 grand for it because
Mm-hmm.
if I financed it, it was going to be like 550.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided if I was going to buy it, I was going to buy it cash.
Mm-hmm.
And I also decided I'm not going to use the money that I already make right now. I need to find a new source of income.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I wasn't knocking on doors anymore, because this was 6 years into having my business,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't knocking on doors anymore. I went back to knocking doors from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and all the money I would save from that went towards the Lamborghini fund. And then I gave
Smart.
myself a 2-year goal to hit it. I wanted to do it by my 32nd birthday
Mm-hmm.
because I figured by 40 everybody's driving a Lambo. I wanted to do it by my 32nd birthday, and sure enough, a year and 10 months passed by, and I only have $150,000 saved.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying to myself, man, this seems impossible. I only have 2 more months to save another 140, 150 grand. But you know what? I'm just going to focus on what I can control. I'm going to keep knocking till my birthday. And I know I'm going to get this freaking car some way, somehow. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, I get a call from my broker. And he says, hey, I found your car. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I don't have the money yet. He's like, no, the guy wants 150 grand for it. He bought it for 300. The wife doesn't want to drive it because she just found out she's pregnant. It only has 600 miles. He's got 4 Lamborghinis. He'll give it to you for 150. He literally went with me to the bank the next day, wrote a check for 110 grand just to get rid of it. I wrote a check for 150. The car was 260 total. And I drove out of there with a brand new 2008 Lamborghini with only 600 miles. And the reason I love that story so much is because there are times where you're about to get your blessing and you get knocked down. And unfortunately, when you get knocked down, that's when you confess with your mouth that it's not going to happen. And when you confess with your mouth that it's not going to happen, it won't happen.
It's not going to happen. Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
happen.
'Cause you just told yourself,
You just
basically.
told yourself.
Yeah.
But if you just could have that unwavering faith and push forward and continue to focus on what you can focus on, God will put the right people in front of you to make the impossible possible. I am 100% convinced. If I would have said, I only have 2 more months, there's no way I'm going to come up with that money, I would have never got that phone call.
Yeah.
And that's just one example of dozens of examples that I have like that.
Yeah, that happened in your life.
Yeah. But anyways, that's one of my favorite stories to share.
Yeah, it's like, it's almost, once you convince yourself that something's on a table or it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen because you already told yourself it's not.
Yeah.
But then once you tell yourself, no, this is what I want, this is what's going to happen. And even if it doesn't happen at the time that you want it to, it's still attainable as long as you tell yourself, you convince yourself it's still going to happen.
Yeah. And again, the main thing where people mess up, they don't focus on what they can control. They start focusing on the things that they can't control. Right?
Yeah. I like that.
That's the problem.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you focus on the things you can't control, then what'll happen is you'll psych yourself out and you'll immediately say, I can't do it.
You're wasting your energy and effort.
You're wasting your energy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I've done this all my life. And I just focus on the things that I can control. In that Lamborghini story, the only thing I could control was to keep knocking.
Keep knocking on doors.
It's the only thing I can control.
Yeah.
And I had faith that some way, somehow, I always come through on things. I figure out a way. I said it earlier. I'm gritty. I'm scrappy. I figure it out a way. And that's all I focused on. And sure enough, I get the phone call.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, the car's ready for you. I mean, who would have thought, man?
Yeah,
I drove that car for 10 years. And when I sold it, I almost sold it for what it was worth. And then I bought me a brand new one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Dude, I love it, man.